Long ago, in a secluded corner of an old forest, where the sun's rays barely penetrated the dense foliage, lived a squirrel with eyes full of warmth and a heart that held every grain of pain. She was unlike others. A tiny leather suitcase, worn but firmly strapped, always hung on her back. Inside lay folded sheets of paper, fragile as autumn leaves, each one holding a secret, an insult inflicted on her, or guilt for her own mistake. If a friend uttered a harsh word, she wrote it down. If she herself remained silent when she should have spoken, she added another note. "Forgive me," she whispered, tucking the piece of paper into the suitcase. "I must remember everything to become a better person," she told herself, believing that every pain was a lesson that could never be forgotten. At first, the suitcase was weightless, just a couple of notes, light as feathers. But with each passing day, it grew heavier. Resentments piled up, an owl's piercing gaze, a missed opportunity to help, silence when a voice was needed. The leaves multiplied, and soon the squirrel's back began to ache. Her leaps from branch to branch slowed, her laughter faded, and her once light paws seemed stuck to the ground. But she clung to her suitcase. "These are my lessons," she whispered. "Without them, I'll forget how to be kind." The forest animals noticed her weariness, but she merely brushed it off, hiding her pain behind a weak smile. One day, under the shade of an ancient oak tree, the squirrel came across an old tortoise, whose eyes shone with wisdom. The tortoise, basking in a patch of light, looked at her and quietly asked, "Little one, why do you wander as if you were carrying a mountain?" The squirrel froze, her heart sinking. "This is my suitcase," she replied. "It contains my whole life, mistakes, hurts, apologies. I can't throw them away. It would make me weak." The turtle blinked slowly. "Have you forgiven yourself?" she asked. The question hung in the air like a shadow. The squirrel looked down, at a loss for words, and her burden suddenly seemed unbearable. That night, a storm engulfed the forest. The rain lashed, the wind howled, and the mud beneath her paws became a trap. The squirrel ran for cover, but the suitcase dragged her down like an anchor. Her paws gave way. She stumbled, and the suitcase tore from her back. The lock snapped, and hundreds of pieces of paper flew into the air, caught in the wind. She screamed, rushing after them, but the notes dissolved in puddles, drifted into the dark sky, and disappeared among the branches. The squirrel froze, wet and shivering, free of the burden on her back for the first time. And then a miracle happened. She took a deep breath. The world became lighter. The rain no longer felt cold, and her paws were no longer stiff. She looked up at the stars breaking through the clouds, and for the first time in years, smiled, freely, sincerely. Days passed. The squirrel no longer collected leaves. Mistakes still happened, pain still stung, but now she was learning to let go. She apologized when she was wrong and moved on, not clinging to guilt. One morning, the turtle found her again. The squirrel fluttering through the branches, light as the wind, her eyes shining. "You're different," the turtle remarked. The squirrel laughed. "I still remember," she said, "but I don't carry it with me anymore." She looked at the turtle's shell and added, "You carry your home, and I've learned to carry my pain. But now I'm free." The turtle smiled. Not everything we carry helps us grow. The moral of this story is simple but profound. We often think that the burden of guilt makes us better, that it teaches us kindness. But the overly heavy suitcase of the past only weighs us down. True growth begins when we learn to forgive, not only others, but ourselves. We mustn't forget the pain, but we must stop dragging it around with us. Let go, learn, fly, because life becomes easier when you give yourself a chance to breathe.